Good evening, everybody, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about my new book, Secret Fords. And I actually want to share with you a little bit about the background of the book, but perhaps more importantly is to show you the book, show you the cars, and really give you a feel for what I think is something that I've spent almost decades, it feels, collecting these photos to share in what I think is actually going to be a really unique book. So first thing is just to show you the book, and here it is, and you'll see it's a big book, the same size as the Cars You Always Promise Yourself if you have my earlier book. And I'll talk you through some of the cars that are on the back and on the front, which I think are really quite striking. So let me first talk a bit about the background to the book. So when I published the earlier book a year or two ago, people kept asking me about, wouldn't you do another book, a similar book that's more about the saloon cars, the Fiestas, the Escorts, and that side of things as a complementary book? And by the way, do you have any more about the RS cars and how they were designed? And do you have anything that you could tell us about the secret cars that were never released? And I realized that was the idea of telling the story of each of the Ford cars in their design story and all the secret cars that were behind the scenes, if you like, that were never seen. And that's really this book. And I ended up getting so much information as I began writing earlier this year that I've chosen to split it into two volumes. And the first volume is what I'll show you today, which is the 70s through to the late 80s. And then volume 2 will come along in maybe another few months when I write it through the winter months. So first thing now is to take you into a little bit more detail, because I'm sure it's the cars that you really want to see. So these three cover cars I thought showed an example of cars you'd half be thinking you're familiar with, and rather the more extreme cars, of which there were a lot in the book. But these are just really interesting cars. And the first one I want to look at here now is this yellow Escort Coupe. Now, this was designed back in 1972 by Patrick Lecaimon, the famous designer that went on to lead Renault design for many years. But before that was the chief designer at Ford in Germany. And he's helped me an awful lot with this book and written the foreword. And I think you'd agree, it's a cute looking thing. And the story of why that car never happened is equally fascinating. And the Escort Mark II was a story that has never really been written about in decades. And so I really went back and got hold of all the original design photos and sketches for the car that have not been seen. And this just bowled me over, the opportunity that this car maybe could, maybe might not have been. That's for you to judge. And let's move on to the next car here now, which is the one in the middle, the silver car. Instantly you'll half recognize it, won't you? It's a Sierra, but it's also a Capri. It is actually gears designed for a Capri. And one of the things that I was amazed that Ford was so enthusiastic once I got underway was to release to me for the first time ever the gear archives of all the secret cars that were designed in Italy by Gear and never even taken to Germany, never taken to the UK. So this car never ever left Italy. And as you can see, it's a Sierra derived Capri. You'll recognize the doors from the Sierra windscreen, but again, for you to judge whether it was a car you want to buy or not, but fascinating story of another Capri. And there are, by the way, 5 Capris, believe it or not, in the book that Gear created that were never seen through the rest of Ford. So the red car that you see at the top there is fascinating in some ways because it looks completely out of place for a book that's around the 70s and 80s in volume 1. And as I said, volume 2 will be the 90s and 2000s. This looks like a car that's from the 90s, but it's not. It was designed back in 1983 in Dunton. Small, compact, cute, powerful car that went a long way down the road as to be really Ford's coupe and RS offering in the market. So the thing that you'll probably be wondering about is price and availability. So let me just quickly talk about that. It should be available from mid-November. The price, good news, it's $39.95, so same size as the old book, but £5 cheaper. And more importantly, it's a great book. The best thing I'd recommend is to go to my website and put yourself on the pre-order interest list. That will just give you 3 clear days before everybody else gets to pre-order it, and you can get to order the version of the book you want. Particularly important if you're interested in the signed collector's edition, which comes with a separate scrapbook, Both versions, if you pre-order, will come with one or the collector's edition 2 posters, which are worth £9.50 each. So you get a lot of value from pre-ordering, and you get to go to the front of the queue. It's a no-brainer, basically, and you don't need to put down any money. So what could be better? So again, to recap, available mid-November. Go to my website, get yourself on the advanced pre-order interest list so that you can qualify for the free poster and get to the front of the queue. The price, $39.95 for the standard edition and $69.95 for the collector's edition, which comes with box slipcase, a scrapbook, and it's signed and numbered. So there's a lot of extra content in the collector's edition. So I know that will be, again, very popular like they have been before. So that's the book. I'm going to take us through the contents of it in a little bit more detail. There's a lot of content. But for now, I'm just really happy to give you first glimpse of the book. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at it. Thanks.